Hey everybody, it's Joel from the Board Game Mechanics, and today I'm taking a look at a licensed property game. Sometimes these don't turn out real well. What about Disney's Villainous? Did this one turn out well? Is this a game that you're going to want to try and find? Let's find out, but first let's take a quick look at the components and some gameplay. Let's get to it. So the game is Disney Villainous. I'm just going to kind of go through the components on this real quick and just show you exactly what you get in the box and why it's important for the game. So I'm going to start off with every player gets kind of the same thing. You get a little pamphlet here that just kind of tells you, hey, this is how you kind of play the game with this character. And man, you can see, look, I mean, that art is awesome. But when I lay it on the table, it just kind of disappears because of how the finish is. You also get these really cool player boards. And then it has some things that we should look at here. This is your objective, how you win the game. And then you flip it open, and there's your placements. And so the kind of neat thing is everybody's different. So unique player powers, unique victory conditions. That's a really cool thing that this game brings to us. The other thing we get, this is where the game really comes alive, is you have two decks of cards. You have this deck of cards with the colored back, and this is going to be like what you use to help you and assist you in trying to complete your objectives and win the game. Then you also have these light colored backs. This is something that your opponent's going to draw from that's going to handicap you. So let's go ahead and look through some of these cards real quick here and see what kinds we have. This is an effect card. An effect card in that deck. This basically is going to make you just have a one-shot kind of instant thing. The cost of the card, the power cost is up here in the top corner. You read the text and it kind of gives you what it says. A condition. Again, another thing you cast. So this is if somebody has a bunch of allies, you gain power. An ally. So these are the cards that are going to help you out by combating the heroes that are fighting you. So this is the card guard spade. And then so the other thing too is that it has a symbol on it that is the activate symbol down here. So if you're allowed to activate this card, you can pay 1 power and get that power. That you can get that effect whenever you are able to satisfy that. Some of these heroes use these activations a lot, others don't. Allies can get items to power them up. And so honestly, this game at times feels a little, I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy, but at times it feels a little bit like Magic the Gathering, that you're putting these guys out and equipping them. You also get this standee, not a miniature, but like a little placeholder, and you're going to pick different spots for where you're going to go. The only rule on this is that you have to pick a different spot than you were in the last time. So let's see if we can get a little better look at that. If we can get a little better take it, how that looks. There you go. Maybe a little bit. So then we also have, like a bunch of other guys in here. We got Jafar. I played with Jafar. He's a little tricky to play. The most simple guy to play with is Prince John, but everybody has different conditions that they're going to have that they finish the game with. And this art is just awesome. See that like padlock down there? That's something I want to mention. That spot is locked out. So in order to win with Jafar, you have to unlock that. You have to gather some cards and then move them to that locked out position. You have to move it to that locked out position. And then you continue to play, until your condition's met by using these cards. Now, the white deck, this is kind of cool too. The white deck has effects that harm you, or they have heroes in there. So the White Rabbit is a hero, and he has a power down here. That's his power rating. And so in order to vanquish him, you have to have allies that can exceed that power. And then you have to take a vanquish action. And the other thing too is when you put a hero out, they cover up some of your action spots. So I want to go to this spot now. Well, it used to be that I got to do a vanquish action, play a card action. Or that's actually not a vanquish. That's a fate, which is that light colored deck. I got to put a card out. I got to discard a card, and then I also was able to vanquish something. Well, now if I cover that up with the White Rabbit, so my other players over here, I don't want to get us too confused. We have a couple playboards going here. If I cover that up with a hero, I just made that spot a lot weaker. I've nerfed it. So if I don't take care of that quick, what can happen over the course of the game is you end up having more heroes come out. And these heroes just build up and build up and build up. And so eventually you could have it so that you're really playing very handicapped. So you have to distract from your main objective to take care of these heroes. But at the same time, if you don't take care of these heroes, you're really handicapping yourself. It's really hard to describe the full gameplay of this game. It's like trying to describe Magic the Gathering, because you could describe Magic the Gathering as a simple take 20 life off someone, put out cards using mana and lands, but then the actual cards are where the game kind of lives and it belongs. So, I mean, these cards are just amazing. They just have really cool ways of how they interact with each other. I'm definitely giving away what I think about this game. It's a very cool game. The other thing, too, is I love Scythe, and I know this sounds crazy, but this moving from place to place feels a little like Scythe. The card play, it does feel like a dueling or like a Magic the Gathering attacking and kind of back and forth kind of game. It's kind of cool. I think you can... There's 6 characters in the box right out of the packs. Let's take a look at Prince John here real quick, too. Ooh, squeaky. I mean, everyone's got their own kind of... like... He's got a little goblet there, or a chalice, or whatever you want to call it. But his objective is super simple. Just get 20 power. Power is the currency in the game. You can go to these different places. One of them is this spot here. Just gather 3 power on your turn. So, I mean, this one's really straightforward if you're playing with a non-gamer or someone who's new to gaming. This one, pretty simple. Some of the other ones, Jafar, I mean, some of the other ones, the Queen of Hearts, both of them are both way more complicated than your standard like straightforward John character there. One other thing I just want to go over here real quick before we put this away and give some final thoughts. Here are the potential action symbols that you're going to see. So when you go to a spot, they're not all there. There's around 3 or 4 actions available when you go to a spot. Gain power, and there's a number in the middle. So it'll be like a 1 through a 3. I think 3 is the highest. Play a card. Play a card from your hand. So you're going to have a hand of cards. Activate. You're going to, activate a card that's in your tableau in front of you. A fate is when you draw those light-colored cards from someone else. Move an ally or an item. So that's something that's important too. If you need to vanquish something in another spot, you have some heroes out, that can really help. Move a hero, or move an item or an ally. Move a hero. You can move a hero to where you're already set up at. That one you don't see too often. Vanquish is that combat thing. That's not really killing something. It's just sending it out, making it a little more family friendly. And then discard cards, which is important because you want to be able to get new cards on your hand when you draw back up. So these player aids are really nice. It comes with a little brief summary of what each player's objective is, so you can kind of be aware of what other people are trying to do. The other thing that's even nicer is this kind of is a balancing act for someone who's had a lot of experience. These little play guides, I mean, like, they're really cool. They show, hey, this is what's in your deck, okay? And here are some really neat cards that are going to come out. Here's how you take the shot. These are the things you're going to try and do. So it's worth it to have people read this the first time they're playing it with a character. Read that little pamphlet. Understand what they're trying to do. The art on this game is just absolutely beautiful, and I don't think that my video is able to portray that because lighting is really tricky with this game. Just the combination of matte finish with like shine. I mean, just different angles. It just really makes the game look very different, but it's such a nice finish on it. Very good game. Anyway, here's some final thoughts. So Disney's Villainous, again, it's a licensed property game. Usually these end up being like Monopoly games that have a slapped on, like theme kind of thing. So they renamed the Monopoly squares after NFL sports teams or something like that. So this game, though, we have a unique game that is created from scratch that is just strictly fitting for the theme. So I think the licensed property is a huge plus on this game. There's other pluses too, but let's take a look at them all, I guess, right here. First Pro, I said it, great theme. The theme on this game is just phenomenal. I love how these villains all play differently, and they all feel like they connect to the movie that we all know and love that they're from. So for example, Prince John wants to be rich and powerful, so all he wants is power. Jafar wants to control the genie and is a little, impulsive and wants to get the genie set up so that he can have them trapped. The Queen of Hearts has to make a wicket. Just different things like that happen in this game that are just Peter Pan needs to be trapped by Captain Hook to make Captain Hook happy. So these villains, all their in-game conditions, their victory conditions, all come straight from these games. So the theme is perfect and awesome, and it's not plastered on whatsoever. It's fully integrated into the game, so that's a huge pro. Because it has that Disney thing going on for it, it's going to have such accessibility to players that aren't typically board game players. So this is something that I think you could draw people into the hobby by saying, this is a Disney game. The theme works with it. You'll understand kind of a baseline of the game because of the theme. You've seen these movies. This is a lot of fun, right? You're a Little Mermaid fan. Why don't you come and play as a character from the Little Mermaid? So I think that's really a cool thing to do as well, to get people who like may not be into playing, an abstract game or a game where you terraform Mars, might come and play a game where you play as a Disney villain, just because it's a little more accessible theme. So that's kind of a cool thing too. Art on this is amazing. So the art, I compare this to the art in Grim Forest. So Grim Forest, you're getting a shout out too. Grim Forest has amazing art, some of the best art in the game I've seen this year. This game has similar component quality and art to Grim Forest. I'm not sure if it's as amazing a game as Grim Forest. Very close though. Very good game. The art on it though is spectacular, and the finish, the cards don't turn out real well in this game, the way how they get filmed because of the finish on them. But the finish on them is this really great matte finish. The components all have a really nice feel to them, and they're just completely adequate. Great like player boards. Everything is really good in it. The player boards could have been maybe a hair thicker, I guess, but I mean honestly they're fully functional, pretty great. Again, that component quality was my next point. The individuality. So that's what I think is really awesome about this. Every deck plays differently. How the cards interact with each other is totally different. And that really adds to the fun. So when you're playing as the more straightforward Prince John, you're just trying to grab power as best you can. When you're playing as Jafar, you need to unlock that destination to get the genie there and, have that all like that chain of things go together. And there's different levels of complication. So if you want to play something that's like just straightforward, I need to get power, you can do that. If you want to play something that chains a bunch of events together, you can do that. And they all feel very different. So you're going to get a chance to play a lot of different feeling characters in this game. Every game that you play with those different characters just feels different. It really does. Then different combinations of characters playing against each other. That's really cool too. It keeps you engaged because you're always thinking like, on someone else's turn, are they going to flip some of my I guess they're called fate cards, where those heroes are going to come out. The mechanics of the game are just, there's a lot of depth to them. You wouldn't think that in a licensed property game that you find at Target about Disney villains, but it feels a little like Scythe, where you're going to those different spots and making choices, and where you go, you get to take actions based on that location. It's action selection, not really worker placement, but very cool. Then the hand management, playing those cards in the right order at the right time, saving things for when you need them later, being able to cycle those cards the way you need to, adds another layer of depth to it. So this is certainly not a total like gateway, easy, accessible family game, but I think players could play it. But I think there's more depth to it too, that people who are more into games, more hardcore gamers, are really going to enjoy this as well. So that's a lot of what's going on there. The positives are just overwhelming. I can't think of really any negatives. The only negative I can think of is one game I played where I was playing the straightforward Prince John, and I got 20 power real quick. There's nothing that could happen to stop me because of luck. I had a lot of luck in the cards I got. The other person had a lot of unlucky draws and didn't do very well, and so I ended up rolling them. So I mean, that is something that I've seen, but even then, that was a 2-player game. In a 3-player game, if I'm starting to run away like that, both players are going to start dogpiling me. So and there is a mechanic to kind of stop from having all the evil fates happen to one person at a time, but still 2 players could take a lot of turns to try and slow me down if I'm starting to run away. So there is a way to mitigate that luck, but it is present. So overall, what do I think of this game? Is this game something that I think people should get in to have in their collection? Well, I think you can kind of get a feel for that based on how I've been talking about this so far. I give this game a 4.5 out of 5 wrench rating. I love this game at this point. It's such a good game. I'm a little embarrassed to admit how much I love this game. This is amongst my favorite games that have come out this year, and I feel like this might find its way into my top 100 games. It's just a cool game. The components are so great. You love playing with that beautiful art. I mean, it's just great art, and a lot of the art may have existed already. It came straight from the movies or something, but it's Disney quality art because it's Disney. So just overall really great. Wonderforge is kind of really doing some really cool stuff right now. Bringing out these cool games and putting them in big box stores, making them accessible to everybody. So this is one that I think is going to sell out. I'm predicting that this is going to sell out a lot quicker than they anticipated. This game's better than they would have guessed, I'm guessing. I mean, like, even with the Disney name on it, you're going to have Disney fans buying this thing up. And I think us board game people who aren't necessarily Disney people are going to be way down with this too. So if you can find a copy, it's pretty cheap. I would suggest it to 70+% of board gamers out there. This is almost an essential to have in a collection. It just is such a neat game. It's almost one of those games that has to be played to fully understand why it's so cool. So check it out. 4.5 out of 5 wrench rating, which is very high. I think that might be the highest in my Cardboard Corner series, honestly. So this has been Joel. If you like this review, subscribe. Get some notifications. Jason, my podcasting partner, puts up some reviews as well. And then we do have a podcast together. Go to bgmechanics.com and check out our podcast. We love what we do there, and we hope that you guys enjoy us. We get silly. We're like maybe the silliest gaming podcast. We just have some crazy things we talk about, like a Boy Meets World miniatures game. That happened. That's something we talked about. That kind of stuff happens in our podcast. Anyway, final thoughts. Disney Villainous, great. Pick it up if you can afford it, and it's something that you feel like would be a good pick for your collection. I don't think you'll regret it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.